Hello and welcome back to another episode of MTT Finance, the channel where you watch me on my journey to becoming financially independent, including being debt-free and building my assets. In today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about how it's going with my 401k plan. If you remember, if you watched my July net worth update, you may have caught that I said I'm going to be now contributing to my employer's 401k plan. And so the purpose of this video is to walk you guys through basically the decisions that led to this point, what made me want to start a 401k plan in the first place, the decisions I made on picking each particular investment in my 401k plan. At this point in the video, I think it's very important to say that none of this information is meant to be taken as financial advice. I'm just some random guy on YouTube documenting my journey to becoming financially independent. You shouldn't look at me and say, oh, he picked these particular investments, so should I. That's not the point of this video. This is purely for entertainment purposes only. So one thing I wanted to do right off the bat before we go in and look at my portfolio is talk about why I'm even starting a 401k plan in the first place. If you remember a while back, maybe it was in, I think, one of my debt payoff videos or in one of my net worth update videos, I said that I really wasn't contributing to my 401k plan yet because I was focusing on paying off my student loan debts. And that's a great sentiment and it works well in theory, but the problem is that I'm not always honest with myself or with my budget, and that extra money that I'm getting from not contributing to my 401k plan, it wasn't going towards paying off debt sometimes it was, but a lot of times it was just going and sitting in my savings account, which if you know anything about savings accounts and inflation, you know that money is not really growing in a savings account. In fact, it's losing value. But not only was I not paying off debt, my money itself wasn't growing. It wasn't increasing in value. And one of the nice benefits of a 401k plan, if you don't know already, is not only is your money going and being invested into different types of index funds through your employer, but also a lot of times employers will offer what's called a match, where they will contribute up to a certain percentage of how much you are contributing to your 401k plan. Let's now take a look over at my computer screen and let's talk about 401k allocation. Basically, where the money that's being pulled from your paycheck, where it's going. So as you can see with the screen I have set up here, when I went to build my 401k plan and choose how I'm going to be allocating my money, I had two options with my employer. Option one over here, the age-based investment. And I consider this the easy strategy to allocating your money in your 401k plan. You don't have to pick other stocks or bonds or money market things. Nope, you pick one thing and one thing only and you can let it be. And when you're younger, you might have most in stocks. As you get older, you might start to switch it so that a lot of things are now moving over towards the bonds area and going from stocks to bonds. And then as you are older and as you're retired, you're going to want to keep things in bonds. That way, you know your money is safe. It's not going to be lost all in one day because of something crazy happening in the market. This is the easy way to go about building your 401k plan. You sign up with your company and you choose an age-based investment based on the age you want to retire. I didn't do that. I did what I call the BYOP method. Over here, the build your own portfolio. And what this is basically I have to go in and choose which investments I want to allocate my money to. And there's a little bit higher learning curve with this because it's not doing it for me. In fact, it's not even going to change over the course of my working career. So I'm going to have to go in and actually change how much of my money is going towards stocks versus bonds. But the reason I went with this method is because I feel like by doing this, it's a little bit of a learning experience. I can't just rely on something else to do investing for me. It kind of forces me to do a little bit of digging and education and research myself. So now the screen I have pulled up, this is showing the specific investments that my money is going towards when it gets pulled from my paycheck and put into my 401k plan. And I'll kind of just walk you briefly through what each one is. The majority of my decision making was because I saw these were Fidelity, and I'm familiar with Fidelity, so I kind of know I'm getting something good. As you can see here, I kind of have broken things down into 4 different investments. I don't know why I picked 4. I don't think I even needed 4. I just like the number 4. I first started off with picking a bond. I went with the Fidelity US Bond Index Fund. Kind of a mouthful there. But right now I have 10% currently of the amount of money that's being pulled to my paycheck going towards this fund. Now, don't read me out in the comments if you're looking at this and going, what is up with his percentages? I get that they equal 100, but 10% into a bond, I know. Once I submitted all this stuff, and I can always go back and change it, I realized that for people typically around my age, between 25 and 30, that they might have an actually lower percentage for bonds. They might have it around 3%. I might go back and change this, kind of just sticking with this. I wanted to get my 401k plan up and running before I wasted any more time, really. 20% is going towards this one, this Fidelity Total Index Fund. And I then have 50% going towards the Fidelity 500 Index Fund. This is an index fund that is tracking the S&P 500. And I have the most amount of my money going towards that, 50%. And then I actually chose this Wells Fargo fund by complete accident. I think I was actually trying to select something else, and I picked this one because I was like, well, where did I pick this? Anyway, it's in there. I might take it out later on and readjust the percentages. Now, the next thing I wanted to cover while looking at my investments is why I chose these specific ones in the first place. Yes, as I said earlier, it's because of them being Fidelity, and I know who Fidelity is, not personally, but I know what Fidelity is. I've heard of them, and I'm familiar with that. However, there are some other things that I looked at before picking a specific fund, and I'm going to kind of draw your attention to something right here. Remember I said I accidentally picked this Wells Fargo one? Now, I want you guys to take a look. If we scroll down to the gross expense ratio, we see they have a gross expense ratio of 1.28%, and that seems tiny, and it really is. But you got to remember that this is something that's going to be happening over the course of 30 years. And so over the course of 30 plus years, this 1.28% can actually eat at a lot of growth from your 401k plan. So one thing that's super important when you're picking a fund is to go and look at the fees, look at the expense ratio, because you want to make sure that these companies aren't just taking away a bunch of your profit over the course of 35 plus years. It may not seem like a lot in, 1 month, but you multiply that over the course of your entire working career, and that might be a lot of money. So let's, for the sake of contrast, now look at this Fidelity fund. If we scroll down to the gross expense ratio, we can see it has a measly 0.02 expense ratio, which there's still an expense ratio, but that is so much less, and it's going to be so much less money taken from the growth of my 401k plan over the course of my working career. And then lastly, the other thing I looked at when I was picking these specific funds, if I can divert your eyes up here, this is once again this Fidelity 500 index fund, the one that tracks the S&P 500. One thing that's important to look at is the performance of the fund. And it's probably not good just to look at 1 year because you're like, whoa, 40% increase, that's great. Well, last year was kind of weird in terms of investing. So it might not be good to look at that. Now we can look at 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Now, one thing about Fidelity is they haven't been around like for a super long period of time. And so a lot of Fidelity funds, we can't go past 10 years. So there you have it. That is my 401k plan investment breakdown. And if you may have noticed, I didn't show how much is actually, I guess, in the bank for my 401k plan because something weird is going on with the Rowe Price system. And though I can actually look at my pay stubs and see money being taken out for my 401k plan, nothing so far has showed up in the Rowe Price account. I don't know why. I contacted my HR department today to say, what's up with this? Is this normal? Does it take more pay periods before it actually kicks over and starts displaying in this account? I don't know. Should this go on for another pay period, I actually will probably have to call Rowe Price and figure out what's going on with that. But there should be a total of like $284 in this account right now because it's only taken from one paycheck. Anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching. This is the asset growth series to this channel. It's still being developed as to how I'm going to be presenting this material. Last month, I talked about my Roth IRA and how it's going with that. And this month, I talked about the birth, the inception of my 401k plan. So thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around to the end. Like this video if you like it, if you like 401k plans. Leave a comment down below of how it's going with your 401k plan, if you have a 401k plan, and maybe some of the strategies you implemented when you were creating your plan. But anyway, guys, I will see you in the next video. Take care.